coming up in today's episode of Circle Back.
If you institute something like this, something's got to give, right? Where my prop limits are going to be $10. Or you swing the other way and you want to keep the VIP limits, and then you're like, okay, we're going to offer less markets.
The more you have lawmakers meddling in this, the worse the future outlook is going to be for things.
It's actually funny. It's such a fish logic that most of the rec books have this priced in.
I love this conversation because you get this kind of catch-22 of like sharp guys almost taking the side of the books sometimes, which you would think is kind of counterintuitive.
I mean, you know what? We're already so deep in the waters now in this country. Go for it.
Disclaimer. The content presented in this show is intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of any individuals or organizations mentioned. Statements made about public figures or entities are based on publicly available information and are not intended to harm or defame any person or business. This show relies on fair use of social media posts, which are presented in good faith for the purpose of commentary and criticism. Viewers and listeners are advised to form their own opinions. You know what time it is. It is Circle Back here on the Circles Off channel. This is the Hammer's educational, entertainment, and lifestyle content division. And with Circle Back, we cover the latest and greatest stories that come from gambling Twitter. And we do it today with our Friday crew, hosted by myself, Jacob Gramegna. I am a host, creator, and producer for the Hammer Betting Network. Underneath me in the bottom left corner of the screen is Chris Kiss at FluffNoLied on Twitter. Notorious PM Bull, one-time contest winner, pro bettor. In the bottom right corner of the screen, it is Joey Knish, host of the Hit the Books channel here as part of the Hammer Betting Network, where we do our college football content. And in the top right corner of the screen, we have Storm Pig back with us as the fourth. He is the owner of the dog that is the most still anybody has ever seen, because last time he was on the show, it did not move a muscle and people thought it was just a stuffed animal. Now there's two dogs in the background, Storm.
All right, we'll give signs of life here. Hang on. Joe. Oh, there he is.
There they are. All right, so they are real. We do have the confirmation of that. And we've confirmation of Knish's dog.
Yeah, I was going to say, now my dog wants to get down on the action. You're jealous of getting all the attention.
Well, we'll jump into things for today because we have a lot of great content for you guys to hopefully enjoy along the way. Reminder, if you do enjoy, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We do shows like this every Friday, Monday, plus bonus content on Wednesdays. So big topic out the gates, first of all. This firstly comes from Sam McQuillan, who says New York Assemblyman Alex Bors has introduced a bill that would prevent sportsbooks from limiting or banning winning players. Mr. Limited, who has been interviewed on this channel before, talked about how he's kind of toying with whether or not this is good or bad for the industry. And in the end, he kind of settles right now that this is a good thing for the industry. Porter of BA Analytics, we also have had on Circle Back, says, hello, $10 limits for all, at least can make money shorting the stocks to zero if this passes. So I wanted your thoughts on this, first of all, Flup. If there is a ban on limits in New York and maybe other places to follow, is that a good thing or a bad thing for sports bettors and the industry?
It depends what kind of bettor you are. It's a bad thing for me, I'm pretty sure. And a lot of these guys that are like complaining about it, it's like, think about what you win. Do you win in major markets? If you win in major markets, this is a good thing for you. A very good thing for you, I would say. If you don't win in major markets and you win in like the prop markets and like the alt markets and those kind of things, it's probably a bad thing for you, because why do you think, Circa and Pinnacle, we talk about how they don't limit anyone. Well, try to bet props there, or try to bet same game parlays there. Why can't you? And why can't you bet all these niche markets? Well, because they can't afford it, because too many sharps would come in and kill them, or they can offer it for very, very tiny limits. And is that really a good product service? FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM Series, they can offer robust services robust features because they are allowed to limit players. It sounds good in theory, but in practice, I just don't think this is going to work out.
And let's get the thoughts from you on this one, Storm. Do you think this is good or bad for the industry?
I'm with Flup. I saw a really good tweet that said something along the lines of, rec bettors who like beating up sharp books are having a field day with this right now. Like, they'll be the happiest people in the world if this happens. I think it basically just rewards people that treat sports betting recreationally or like recreational plus, where you can have your $500, right? But what happens to everybody else that wants to bet more than $500? Because a blanket limit across the board is just going to mean that the books are going to say, okay, you can bet this much. And once you start making laws or meddling with things like that, then what happens to VIP limits? What happens to VIP players? Who decides how much people can bet? The way it stands right now is not great. Obviously, nobody likes getting limited, but you get rewarded for harder work, for finding good beards, for finding good accounts to play into. If you try to level the playing field completely and put laws behind it, you're removing that hard work for most of the people that are trying to treat this as a full-time gig. So I like what Chris said. It really depends who you're asking. You're going to get different opinions across the board on this, but I think here Knish will probably be with us too. If you're talking to a board of all pros, we're pretty much all going to say the same thing. We're going to be against this.
Yeah, I think the way I've always heard the breakdown of the math is basically your 80% or whatever, 90% of your small better rec players like offsets any of your advantage recreational player, and then your VIP players are where you make the money, or your larger square players are where you make the money. If you institute something like this, something's got to give, right? Where you're either going to then be taking, there's a couple ways you go about it. It's like, okay, then my prop limits are going to be $10. Or you swing the other way and you want to keep the VIP limits, and then you're like, okay, we're going to offer less markets. And maybe instead of 1,000 props in this game, we'll offer 50, but really try and trade them at a very sharp professional level, which is very difficult to do. And then that's also taken away from like the people that want to I like the 1,000 options because I want to put together a 28 leg SGP for $2. It just kind of takes away. It sounds, if you're a very surface level, like that can sound like a really good idea or like something to get excited about or like in a one-liner, but the nuance of it is the business model really doesn't work if you institute something like this.
I think what Knish said there is very important. I think a lot of these people think, oh, it's going to be the same product, but I can bet more than what I can and make more money. This is good for me. That's not what's going to happen. They're either going to get rid of those markets entirely, trade them so they're better than you, and now you're not winning off them, or some combination in between. And I would also disagree with what you said earlier, Storm. I have a feeling that someone like Rufus, like a pure originator kind of guy, is going to actually support this and enjoy this. Whereas like we come from more of like a account coyote kind of like business model where
yeah, but I would say most of those guys are employing the same strategies as us, right?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to see your Rufus' opinion on this, but because unfortunately we are all relatively similar types of bettors, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. I just to reiterate again, the more you have lawmakers meddling in this, the worse the future outlook is going to be for things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, do we trust the government to institute this limit policy correctly? Like hell no.
We'll keep it moving because New York wasn't the only place that had some discussion surrounding limiting bettors, but not quite to the same extremity. We had stuff from Massachusetts where the Gaming Commission found a correlation between CLV and limiting, surprise, surprise, and possible regulations were drawn up. Their findings were that 0.64% of all in-state accounts are limited. And Spanky of Spot Odds had a lot to discuss surrounding this topic. I'll kind of summarize, it was a lot, so I'll just kind of summarize what he said. He thinks that the statistic on 0.64 is misleading because it hides how often sharp bettors are targeted. And having transparency on why you're being limited, which was also discussed, is useless because sharp bettors know why they're being limited. It's not a mystery. Discusses the chances of you getting limited and then unlimited at a later date, but Spanky thinks that once you're limited, it's done, and there won't be any of that happening where you're actually getting those limits back. His proposed fix is to cap the ratio of max bets. If one player can bet 50K, another should get at least 2K, so 4%, ending the 25-cent versus $250,000 extremes. Storm, we'll lead off with you on this one. You could answer if you think that the proposed fix that I just brought up works, or just your thoughts in general on this.
I don't think it works, again, because I don't think a blanket solution works. I don't have as much of a background as somebody like Shipper, for instance, but he had a pretty succinct reply to Spanky's tweet about how unless the ratio is something insane, if you're going to do something like that, then it makes it impossible for the books to profit. And then you're circling back to the same conversation we just had. How is the book going to offer products that makes it profitable for them when lawmakers are saying you have to basically let everybody come in the front door and, win money off of you hand over fist? And I love this conversation because you get this kind of catch-22 of like sharp guys almost taking the side of the books sometimes, which you would think is kind of counterintuitive, but it has to be an ecosystem where both sharp bettors can profit and the book can profit. It can't just be one-way traffic, or else there's not going to be any more book. Like a perfect example is, back in the day, there used to be these PPH books, and like I'm sure Knish would have some, and we would all of us would go in on the same guy, and the guy would offer $5,000 on props, and 3 months later that guy was no longer around, and that last week nobody got paid by them, because you can't just operate a business where you're constantly handing money out to people. It doesn't work like that. It's not the real world.
You mentioned that typically sharp guys don't like to take the side of sportsbooks. I implore you to watch the Monday show where Kirk Evans gives you a run for your money on that tape. Knish, your thoughts on this proposal from Massachusetts?
Yeah, same type of thing where it's just the model, like the math doesn't work out that way. And it's good if you institute, like that's what I'm saying, a blanket solution. It doesn't have any of the intricacies to make the actual business of running a regulated sports book work, especially, which a nice segue is some of the topics we'll get into the show with some of the competition they're now facing in the space. So you can't really, if there's not enough juice to squeeze, as Storm said with the PPH example, what happens? The business no longer exists, and then there's no juice, and then you got nothing. Then there's this. So I don't think you can really push the envelope this much with any type of blanket solution. Because as we see, look at the blanket solution in Illinois with the whole bet fee thing, disaster. And so they did there's no nuance. There was just okay, we're going to charge this blanket fee. You got to hit these stipulations. And it's completely stupid. And that's the same type of blanket regulation here. That's not going to have enough nuance to really be effective.
And finally, Flup, Storm and Knish kind of on the same page. Are you as well?
I actually kind of thought maybe even a 25 to 1 ratio might work. Maybe I'm naive. I mean, if Shipper disagrees, I'm going to obviously concede to his opinion. He's obviously going to be much more knowledgeable than me here. But the one thing I would just ask, I think FanDuel does a good job of this. I just want to know what my limits are. I can't tell you the number of times where I fired a bet on Caesars or DraftKings or something like that. I get the spinning wheel or whatever. They decline my bet and then they move the number. And I'm like, okay, that is just come on. Just tell me what it is beforehand. FanDuel does that. Why can't every book do that? I don't care if my limit is nothing. Just tell me before. That would be the only ask I would have. And I don't think how anyone could disagree with that.
All right, I think that makes sense. And we had some interesting takes from this conversation. Would love to hear some additional takes in the comment section down below. What do you think the solution is for limiting? Do you support a blanket limit for all the customers, or do you think that it should stay how it is? Just any thoughts you have in this conversation, please put them in the comment section down below. While you're there, again, make sure you do hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I might be biased, but this is without a doubt the best college football show around. Brad Powers and Joey Knish every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Hit the Books YouTube channel. Come for Brad's insights and Knish's off-color remarks. They answer a ton of questions on all the games you're curious about. Plus, best bets will be given out. Once again, tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the Hit the Books YouTube channel. Head to the link in the description to make it even easier to go check it out. Next topic, we move into something that some recreational books may also oppose, and that is on a conversation surrounding Kalshi's launch of their Build Your Combo, which is a direct competitor now to SGPs. We had Dan Birdstein, who says Kalshi appears to have launched a Build Your Combo parlay feature for tonight's Bengals-Broncos game. That was Monday Night Football earlier in the week in their new update. Alfonso Straffen, who used to be a bookie, now does trading, says, well, shit just got real. And the DraftKings stock and the Flutter Entertainment stock, which own FanDuel and other sportsbooks, should react accordingly. And that it did. Isaac, Round Robin 42, who was on the show last week, said, all this talk about touts spoiling edges in silly prop markets. Meanwhile, Alfonso Straffen is leaking them in multi-billion-dollar ones. And we see an 11% decrease for the DraftKings stock and the Flutter Entertainment stock, and even BetMGM went down 5.5%. Let's go to you, first of all, on this one, Storm. What sort of impact can this from Kalshi and perhaps other exchanges, what sort of impact could this have on the industry in attacking Rexon, their most profitable portion of their business?
I think some people are slightly overreacting to this. You still need better UI. You still need a much better user experience. I haven't used Kalshi as much. Maybe Chris can speak to this, but it's all about friction, like to entry, right? How's the deposit process? How's the withdrawal process? You know, can a guy go and hook his Venmo up to Kalshi and Venmo $200 to go place a parlay, you know, before he goes and sits down to dinner? So I still think long term, I guess, you know, people are pretty bullish on this given the way that the stocks are reacting and just talk in the industry in general. When I was at SBC in May in Florida, all of the talk was about this, obviously, and those conferences are mostly operators. And I'm going to G2E again in a couple of days, so I'm curious to see, you know, if I'm assuming that's just going to be the whole basis of conversation there is these prediction markets. And, you know, I made my tagline half joking, half not, you know, it's trading, not gambling, because that is what these guys are sticking to. You're trying to take this different approach to it. And I get it's because of the legality surrounding it and stuff. But at the end of the day, how do you grow your product if you say it's trading, not gambling, when most of your rec bettors don't want to speak like that, right? They want to say, I fired this parlay, or I did this same game parlay. So it's really a friction thing for me. How seamless can you make the process? How much can you make it sports betting, even though you don't want to call it sports betting? How similar can you make the product, or what sort of improvements can you make over a traditional sports book?
Flup, explain, because this is a Flup wheelhouse of here. Explain how, one, this is even possible, offering a same game parlay on a trading market, and then you're like, would a user have the ability to actually go in and build their own, or are they betting preset ones that Kalshi's offering?
Right, couple things. So I don't fully understand, but I can probably give a good explanation of it. So you can go in and you can customize your own parlay, and it's literally just like it's called. You build your own combo on Kalshi. You can click a couple buttons, and you can have couple different combinations. You can request whatever combination you want. That gets sent to some sort of back end, which any other user has access to and can see that order pop up. And then every other person, this can be you, like Knish, you can log into Kalshi and you can see these orders coming in. You can then offer a price on that. So if I'm building a customizable parlay, say my parlay tonight is Puka Nacua to score touchdown and the Rams to win. you can see that come in and say, I'm going to offer you minus 200 or something like that. And then Storm could come in and offer minus 220 or minus 190, et cetera, et cetera. But this happens instantaneously. And then that gets listed to me as whatever price whatever's best offered to me shows up on my screen. So now you might be first asking, well, if it's instantaneous, who can really do this? Well, the truth of the matter is really only market makers can do this. And someone with a sophistication level. Joey Knish by himself is just not going to be able to. Chris Dierkes by himself, Storm by himself is just not going to be able to do this. I mean, maybe you could. You'd have to build a very sophisticated thing to price every single model, but it's going to be nearly impossible. So I'll push back when I've heard some people, this is peer-to-peer. Bullshit. It's not peer-to-peer. It's peer to market maker, which I have no problem with. I don't think it's a problem by any stretch. And it's going to require more competition because multiple market makers can compete for the same parlay. So they've got to inherently offer better prices and more competitive pricings in the long run. So that's how they're able to do it. So the point of the matter is anyone can come out and take the opposite side of it. That's what makes it part of the exchange. And also anyone can create any combination they want, which is what keeps it in the exchange in nature. The real tricky thing and what they're really kind of doing to circumvent it makes it so difficult that really only market makers are going to be able to post it. I would be shocked if any individual user does it. And if you're able to price it, you're probably pricing hundreds of parlays, not just like one set of them. Does that make sense, Knish?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I would say just to like with Storm's point about friction and that analysis, like that to me, and I know there was the initial like stock market reaction, and I'm sure it becomes more user friendly down the line. But that seems like for your standard rec who just wants to throw an SGP together, it sounds like there's some layers there that they probably need to work through.
Right, because the problem right now is if you did, like I was testing the parlay system. Like a good example is in the Bengals game for Monday night versus the Broncos, Jamar Chase 2+ touchdowns and Bengals money line paid worse than Jamar Chase 2+ touchdowns by itself. So like they're a long ways away from making actual real competitive pricing. But I will push back. A user can make a parlay right now. And if, Robinhood users are not the most price sensitive folk and they don't really care. And if they don't realize they're getting screwed over, they're still going to make some parlays. I also want to push back. Yeah. Sorry.
When you say it's instantaneous from the user end, so you submit your parlay, you get your price offers. Say like, you're on your phone, you put your parlay in and you look away or you go to another app. Do you have to go back in and accept those offers? Like, is it a 2-step process? Which just is another step added to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the same as like a FanDuel or a DraftKings, where it's like you click this button for this leg, you click another button, you get an updated offer.
Okay.
Every time you add or remove a leg, you get an updated offer based on how much you want to bet, and then you just have to swipe up and click.
Okay, so it's an instant place based on the price that they're giving you as you add or subtract the legs. Okay, so that's pretty good as product wise for getting to the end user.
Absolutely, but I would also push back is I'll give Mr. Peanut Better, as much as I dislike this, to give a little shout out here. I was talking to him about this, and I said, "Oh, look, the market's reacting," and I was fallen victim to this. Think that you guys are falling victim to here. This is not the real reason, or even the main reason as to why the stocks actually fell. DraftKings and FanDuel both reported that they had unfavorable NFL results. Let's think about this. Think about Circa Survivor, for example. We've had a very chalky few weeks. Almost every favorite is winning, and every favorite is covering, et cetera, et cetera. And all these recs, what do they love to do? 5 big money line favorites all parlayed together. This adds a lot. And a direct quote is, we estimate FanDuel saw a negative 130 million EBITDA headwind during the month, resulting in only plus 44 million for the quarter. So, which is pretty bad. That's they're saying they're losing a lot of money because of this, and that's why they're going down.
I also saw some interesting tweets that app usage for both DraftKings and FanDuel is down massively month over month and year over year over the course of the last 2 years. So maybe it's something, we're coming into this period after the whole player acquisition push where you're not retaining those players that you were acquiring at one point. And Chris, maybe you can speak to this. Somebody else had replied to these tweets saying that it wasn't related to anything business-wise with these companies at all. It was just in tune with something having to do with consumer lending in the market. And there was some sort of correlation with gambling or surplus funds, I guess.
I haven't heard anything about that. It's possible. And look, another thing to think about this is, do you really think, like we heard about people, there's been talks about Kalshi bringing parlays and same game parlays in for weeks at this point. Do we think that Wall Street is stupid enough to not know that it was coming, and then the day it's released, like panic sell, minus 10% DraftKings, minus 10% Flutter? No, that's not how they operate. They're pretty sophisticated people. Sure, maybe some of them thought it would take a lot longer. Maybe some of them thought the initial launch would be much worse than it was, and they reacted negatively. But it's a combination of multiple things. Until this actually starts taking real market share and real like parlay hold percentages down from FanDuel and DraftKings, et cetera, I don't think it's going to have as big an impact as people think. Plus, let's talk about what's really going on. This is regulatory arbitrage. The people that are in Texas and California I'm going to guess, are going to be some of the biggest users of like the Kalshis of when Polymarket eventually comes to the Polymarkets of the world. They don't impact DraftKings and FanDuel's bottom line right now. And they'll just be going on Kalshi. So it doesn't really matter. It's just an added benefit to the entire sports economy as a whole.
All right. A lot of different perspectives for this conversation. But if you do want to test out this Build Your Combo engine that they have developing, or any of the other markets available on Kalshi, they are our sponsors. You could do so with the link that is in the description at any point in the watching or listening experience, or you can use the QR code that is on screen right now. You can get involved with these markets. Some of them unique, some of them with very high liquidity, and you can support the show at the exact same time. But we're not done talking about Kalshi for the moment, because there was another conversation that prompted up from @Morris from Kalshi, who had a hypothesis he brought up. Now, this does work for any sportsbook, but specifically mentions Kalshi. Says, once a favorite team dips below 5 cents on Kalshi, buy them. Either ride out this discounted favorite to win, swing for 10 to 20 cent profit if they gain momentum back on a score change. Thesis: if you're betting on the favorite team to win at a discounted price, if the team was favored to win, they are a better team, still better at a 50-50 discount. Other factors like time left in the game, why the price drop, pregame odds, comeback heavy team, and wants to backtest this. So, for me, I've seen this theory and hypothesis proposed in many different words. This is just the latest. Let's go, first of all, to you on this one, Storm. Can you see any flaws with the way this is being laid out?
Yeah, I would say it's probably not the best plan in the world. I to bring him up again, I think Shipper had the best response. He ratioed the hell out of the guy. It just said, boom, value. And I picture like Shipper and Sprots with all these horrible prediction market adjacent tweets, just like having aneurysms behind their keyboard every day, reading stuff like this. It's so bad, most of this prediction market content, that you have to wonder if it's rage bait at this point, just to drive engagement, drive clicks. The other side of it, like if you want to look at the other side of the coin, is if it's not rage bait, then maybe, we all need to take a step back and adopt the policy of thinking like, hey, less dunking on people and more of embracing this is going to be my counterparty on these sites. The unfortunate part is most of the time, these guys will do these tweets or these write-ups, and sometimes these guys do have alpha, these prediction market Twitter accounts that seemingly popped up overnight out of nowhere, kind of makes you wonder where they came from. But then you look at the bet size and, they're betting like $10 on these things. So is it really going to be like that beneficial of a counterparty if, these guys are basically seemingly doing this for content and not really getting their hands dirty in the space? And the other thing that I love about these accounts, again, is they're really pushing it's trading, not gambling sort of thing. And it's not sports betting. This is changing the future of how these things can go. And I tweeted it like a month ago. It's like, I know they're the sponsor of the show, but it's like there seems to be this coordinated effort, especially on Kalshi's part, some poly market too, but I've seen it more with Kalshi, of these accounts that popped up like overnight out of nowhere, pushing this prediction market agenda. And, it's a lot of these guys that I don't know if they sign them to like affiliate deals or whatever, but they don't seem to understand the product that they're trying to advertise. And, to the traditional sports betting community, it's kind of like these guys are laughing stocks, right? They think they reinvented the wheel, and that, that the sports betting is really just that easy. So I don't know if they're like trying to appeal to the crypto side of Twitter to try to like, drive more rec flow into these exchanges, but it definitely makes you wonder, like, where did all these guys pop up from overnight putting all this horrible content out there?
Let's go to you on this one, Flip. How do you feel about it? I will add some context and say I don't personally believe this was rage bait. I could see maybe why you'd think that. But Morris quoted and said, "Sorry, everyone, I'm not a professional bettor. I'm sure y'all had these hypotheses when you were starting out." Did you, Flip, think like this? And just your thoughts on it?
I probably did think like this. I'm not going to pretend like I was just a genius and did everything right to start. But it's just still funny for me to see this when prediction market Twitter meets like a Sprots or a shipper. It's just like, I love those interactions. It just always makes me laugh. And obviously his hypothesis is idiotic. I mean, it's actually funny. It's such a fish logic that most of the rec books have this priced in. And if there's an NBA game, for example, where say the Celtics are playing the Hornets and the Celtics are like a 10-point favorite and they're down by 10 at halftime, the odds I'm on the Hornets and doing the opposite of this is like very high, because there's almost internal value baked in because so many people think like this. And it's just very funny that this is how it works. And I totally agree with Storm here. I don't know what these prediction market Twitter accounts just tilt the shit out of me. Why
and they're populating your For You page, and they're not accounts that you follow. They're not accounts that other people follow who you follow. So who's targeting the algorithm this way that all this stuff keeps popping up like this?
Yeah, I know. It's just like, can you just be transparent? Like, I use Kalshi all the time. I do a ton of volume. I'm not trying to bash them. Just fucking tell it straight. I'm not an idiot.
Go ahead, Knish.
I mean, this is the next wave. Like a few years ago, we saw what I called like the picket wave of Bettor come into the scene of like, oh, I'm doing like they put EV in their handle. They had a picket. They screenshot the picket every day about like, oh, look how much money I made Arbin. This is the next wave of annoying new person that's coming into the space here. And it's like, it's trading, market guy that's like coming out through a different different upbringing that like might've done, crypto NFTs. And now is like, see, the one massive difference I'll say though, is like picket person had a normal pathway to win. I don't know if trading market person, like, I don't know if that on-ramp to actually win, it might not be like picket thing might have not been sustainable, but it was very like it was doable. I'll put it like that.
There's a great tweet. Golden Pants has a great tweet about this. The Bengals have tested this level twice, but this time it's in line with the Fibonacci, like just a total like trading. Like, it's like when these crypto bros that are trading, they try to trade sports like live or whatever.
Yeah.
That's just not how it fucking works. Like,
yeah. No,
but again, it goes back to what I said, right? Do we constantly dunk on these guys, or are we like, hey, this is our counterparty, so maybe we should nurture them a little bit? I'm not really sure where to stand on it.
I feel like Porter. We gotta be nice to those kinds of counterparty. Like, someone's gotta lose.
Just because these guys are smarter than me, the way to describe it, I just want to like make it very clear for anyone maybe dumber than me watching this. Respectfully, in the example you gave, Chris, where the Celtics are down by 10 at half to the Hornets in a game the Celtics were favored by 10 points. The reason this hypothesis doesn't work is because the new price is factoring in the time remaining in the game. It is factoring in things that have happened in the game so far. That is the new price. That is the new efficient price. Maybe it's not live prices aren't as efficient as pregame prices necessarily, but this is the new price that is factoring in all of the developed information. So you can't blindly just bet on the favorite to come back because they're the better team. That's baked into it. The book knows that team is the better team and it's priced accordingly, just to make it crystal clear for anybody watching the show today. But an interesting one nonetheless. And interesting as well when we go to the next conversation, which was brought up by China at China Maniac, who has been the fourth on the Circle Back Friday show. We also referenced China on the Monday show, but he once again went at pick sellers, saying that 99.9% of pick sellers are touts and frauds. And there was a lot of pushback from at Covers Van Zach, who we actually feature on the show quite a bit as well, because he said you need to consider that rec gamblers don't care about winning. You assume that a tout can't help the rec gambler lose less. Touts often provide a community, which some people value, and sharps tend to think that recs want to be like them when they don't. Some rec bettors don't want to be super sharp. They want to enjoy the betting experience, even if that is going to lose them a bit of money. And there was a lot of back and forth between China and Covers Van Zach on this one. However, what it came down to is Covers Van Zach equated China, who wanted to get involved with betting groups, and think you're better off getting involved with a betting group, supplying them with accounts, rather than going the tout route and buying picks. And Covers Van Zach said, essentially, you're also selling something, China, because you're promoting a partnership, and perhaps a partnership you are involved with, and you want to get these sorts of rec bettors involved with that. That is what you're selling. And he says partnerships essentially almost equal to touts. Partnerships equal good. Touts are bad when they are something that is quite similar. I never quite looked at it from this perspective, but kind of wanted to fill up your thoughts on this and whether you agree with China or Van Zach on this one.
I think they're both right here. And what I mean is Van Zach is actually right in theory, because if you partner with someone, you're effectively because someone's giving the plays. That person is touting their plays to someone and then who's betting them, and they're just splitting the profits that way, as opposed to just selling it. And in theory, it works the same. You get one person provides the plays, the other person typically provides the accounts, and in a tout manner, they're providing they're paying for the plays and then betting them in their own account. But in a partnership way, the partner is typically providing the plays, and the person is just not paying them, but just betting them themselves. But they can also offer free rolls. There's also some sort of partnership deals where they actually pay for volume, et cetera, et cetera. They actually work very similar than most people realize. The difference, though, is even though in theory they're the same, in practice they end up being wildly different. Because in a vacuum, once a tout has gotten your money, he does not care if the play he sends is winning or losing. He only does care that it's winning because it's more likely to make you a repeat customer and get other customers. Whereas in a partnership, most of the time, if I'm partnering with someone and I send them a play, for example, I want that play to win because I want to win money too. I don't want it to lose. I'm incentivized to win. And I think that's the key difference. And also in practice, I would say the majority of partnerships end up being more beneficial. And sure, you can have one-sided partnerships, bad partnerships. I've had partnered with people that have ended up costing you money, had said they were winning when they were losing, et cetera, et cetera. And I would say the vast majority of touts are not winning. And this is the key. Typically, if you tout, you're better off going to a partnership route, but you don't go in the partnership route because it's a little bit more work and your plays aren't actually winning, and the partners would realize that and quit, because those people that want to go into partnerships are typically a smarter subset.
So that was part of the pushback from China on this conversation, which I didn't specifically reference, but China said the same thing. The tout's going to make money no matter what if you're buying picks off them, whereas partnership, if the picks aren't winning, you're both not making any money. So the partner has more incentive for the relationship to go well and for the picks to win. Knish, I kind of want to get your perspective on the pick seller side of things and somebody who's buying picks. Like, is there value? Are people looking for value in the form of community? Is that something that can actively be preached for pick sellers? Because to me, that kind of just seems like a cop-out way for someone who's selling losing picks to say, like, I'm still providing value. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, but this is, again, one, I think the three panelists here this is not the most unbiased panel in terms of, partnership or touting. But two, I think community is usually that phony word that a lot of people, throw out there. I will say, I think there is something, and I'm not saying do I think this has, everyone's going to have their own answer because it's subjective of does this have value, but there is something that is an allure for people that want to go into a Discord and everyone's going to get to bet the same, 5-leg SGP and root it home. And, if you want to be, everyone's in the Discord rooting it in, they got 3 out of 5 legs. Are you cashing out? Am I cashing out? I do think people, I'm not saying that has what I'll call, financial value, but there is a draw to it that I think a lot of people, when they're signing up for these services, there's that something there. They want to be in there sweating with people that are on their same stuff, chatting back and forth. And even more so, if someone's it's like misery loves company. If they have a bad beat, if the play loses, if the tout is going on a bad run, you have this group of people to then commiserate with. So I don't know if that has dollar value. I do think it is a draw though for people to find out.
It's like when I'm watching Hit the Books and I tail Knish's losing plays. I know they're losing, but I don't mind.
You can get in there and be like, fuck this guy.
Exactly.
I'm damn player. And people are like, yeah. So yeah, that's why we got so many viewers.
But I think still the bottom line is somebody who's buying picks, their first thought is not
right.
This great community.
I think it's such a cop-out because then the easiest response is, okay, well, you can have a free community. And then you always get hit with the same thing. Oh, well, I want to be paid for my hard work and time. And then you get the guys that are like, I spend all day researching, which is like looking at ESPN box scores or whatever it is that they say they do. But to me, I hate that argument of, oh, well, these guys value a sense of community, because then these guys that are creating these communities and charging people, they're preying on people essentially. Like whether you're preying on somebody who's lonely or somebody who's valuing companionship, whatever it is that they're looking for in a community, the second you start preying on that and saying, oh, well, these guys value community, who cares if I win or not? Okay, well, circle back, do it for free then. And if you're not doing it for free, then you're preying on vulnerabilities of these people that want to be a part of these community. And generally speaking, if you're emotionally vulnerable like that, where you feel like you need to be a part of an online sports betting community, for example, you're probably not somebody who should be betting in the first place. Those sort of personality traits are going to flesh out in gambling as well. And I hated that whole argument that, oh, well, people don't value money, they value community. And yes, I agree with that, but I don't think that makes it right. And I actually responded to that tweet from Zach. I said, if your partners aren't profiting, then your group isn't profiting. If your customers aren't profiting as a tower, you still are. It's not that difficult. He said, some people don't care about profit. And I said, your original post mentions good and bad in the scope of gambling. What else could be construed as good besides profiting? So when you twist the argument to say, oh, well, not everybody cares about winning, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's about. If
I
you
disagree.
find, you disagree?
Yeah. So look at who's the biggest community in the space right now. Book It HQ. They post their picks for free. But Book It for Trent is openly admitting that he's a losing player, posts his losing picket month after month, and he blows everyone out of the water in terms of viewership. And honestly, you could make an argument that he's more predatory because what's he doing? He's getting people to sign up for the Prize Picks, knowing that they're losing, but no one cares because they're having a good time and they love the community. And I bet you, if he charged $20 a month to join a Book It HQ Discord, he would get thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people to sign up. So I think you're just a little biased.
Yeah, I'm not as tapped in. I'm not as tapped into that side of things. I'm more tapped into the Twitter tout side of things forever. So the content communities and stuff like that. You're right. I it's like an afterthought. I don't consider that aspect of things. But then again, like you said, it circles back to what I was saying. You're preying on, these vulnerabilities that people have that want to belong to something, and using gambling as an instrument for it. And that's just like disastrous for a lot of people.
So I don't think Trent's bad in any way, because he's very transparent with what he's doing. And like, the thing is, like, if people are open and they're touting and they're saying you're joining this community, I have to give them a little credit, because they're being transparent about it. As long as they say the picks are losing too. But
this is a very unique example where he's very open about his gambling results. I would think at least 90% of the places that are promoting the community aspect of joining the group are promoting the fact that they're selling winning picks as well, when in fact they aren't selling winning picks.
Absolutely.
So I think this is like a unicorn sort of example where, like, this is a place that does promote the community, and that's why people are invested into it. But a lot of other places, you've used the term cop out, because they are trying to sell winning picks, and that is a form of promotion for the group. That is how they get people in the door.
I guess my question to you guys would be like, take someone like an SGP Vic. I think we'd all agree is very likely to be a losing pick seller and everything like that. If he told his entire community right now, my picks are losing, unsubscribe if you want to, keep subscribing if you want to follow, what percentage of people would stay with him? I would make the argument that probably almost half, if not more, would stay with him. Maybe
a lot for sure.
And if the answer is a lot, then aren't they right that the community aspect is actually a big deal to people?
I wonder if from the infancy of SGP Vic, if that's how the account was portrayed. I wonder if that would have been a successful strategy to build up the consumer base that exists already.
I think that's a fair point.
I'd wager it doesn't. So
yeah, I think that's a fair point. Like, you, just because you kind of like bait and switch people. So just because they're already invested, versus, if you start from the beginning, hey, I suck at this, pay me a bunch of money for my picks, you're not going to build up the same community that's going to be invested or dedicated to being part of that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, Flip, but I still, we all agree you're probably better off not going the route of a tout, and I can see that some people are interested in the community aspect, but I just don't think that that'd be a successful way to promote your pick selling service.
I am curious, because in all seriousness, I would imagine that if you actually tailed every pick from Knish's hit the books, you'd probably be a small winner. It's going to be hard because
we track it every play as we do at the Hammer, so we can just check right now.
What are the results?
I'll check right now. Hit the books is minus 1.5 ROI all time.
Okay. But positive the past 2 years in perfect tout in symmetry here, including 25 and 15 on the year.
I will concede down 8.5 units, 2.8% CLV. So perhaps a bit of bad luck in some respect.
These results are these results are clearly better than just randomly spraying the board, and they are much better than everything else. And it's likely that their picks are some of the best out there. So I'm going to ask you, Knish, why do you think people listen to you? Is it because they know your picks are better than almost anyone else, or is the chemistry between you and Brad Powers?
I would say much more of the entertainment, chemistry, informational factor than just the picks alone. Obviously, I think there are some people there that are for the picks. Like, usually we'll do a show on a Monday, it'll have some market movement, but that's more of the niche, more in depth, better than I would say most people. And I agree with, like, as the point you made about Trent, if he was doing this, that type of thing, I'm with you. I think it would just be like absolutely explosive. And so that to me is a little bit more of from like the wide ranging thing of what your average consumer wants.
All right. Good discussion. I started the discussion very much on the side of China, but I can definitely see Van Zach's perspective a lot more after it. Maybe you guys have some thoughts you want to give in the comments down below. Anybody watching or listening, that would be greatly appreciated. We'll move into our next topic, though, to keep things moving on the show. And we have maybe the bad side of pick selling, because this is just the classic, the absolute classic. So beatenthebookie.com said, who wants my 120 to 1 TD score parlay for today? Then quoted it with said parlay. And it's a Hunter Henry, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Quentin Johnson, Dalton Kincaid, Nico Collins, all to score a touchdown on a parlay. Now, 4 out of 5 of them got the touchdown. Nico Collins did not. Because this is a parlay, this bet lost. The bet that was promoted lost. But in true tout fashion, Beaten the Bookie says, if you played the TD scores separately, you made 6 units. Knish, do we see a problem with this and promoting it like this?
I mean, this is, we've talked Discord a little bit. Like, this is every long shot Discord's like go-to. I'm going to give you 20 home run parlay, touchdown parlays. And then, like, you know, if 19 of the 20 or 12 of the 20 hit, you go, well, if you just bet them straight, you would have been a winner, baby. It's just that easy. Nobody's fucking betting these straight. Like, nobody is doing that in the everybody wants the long shot, but then it's a very easy cop out to be like, well, if you're round robin, you bet them straight, you did them like this. We'll go to the hit the books example. I give out a 4-team like underdog money line round robin every week. If you've bet them straight or round robin them over the last 2 years, you've made money. If you've parlayed them every week, you made nothing, because we've never gone 4 for 4. We've gone 3 for 4. We go 2 for 4 all the time. We're actually like 500 now. But if you bet them all for just the parlay, we haven't hit. And so that's the difference. And so I can come on here and be like, look at this. I'm picking underdogs at like a 50-50 rate. Nobody's fucking doing that. They're just betting the 14 parlay. So yeah, it's a great cope for the person giving it out, which I use myself. But I mean, when you're like touting it, that like, come on now.
I have seen you use that strategy before, where it's like, look how smart I am. I 3 out of 4 of these tough plays
every week.
I managed to call. Pretty bad look, I'd say. Flup, you're laughing. Do you want to add anything to this?
This is just a classic. Just like, if it went 0 for 4, you just lost a unit.
Right.
2 for 2. Oh, look! Like you made.
We're
money.
on the right track. We're getting the right. We're on the way there.
It's brilliant. It's honestly like very, very sharp, and I'm glad to know that someone as sharp as Knish is using that same strategy.
Storm, you go ahead. What do you want to add?
It's the usual like emotional free roll that all these guys use. I was laughing that you brought up SGP Vic in the previous segment when I knew that this one was coming up, because I think he's the one who coined the term watering down, which
that's a great way.
and I remember when he first like popped up in the Yelp spaces, everybody was dunking on the guy because he printed out a poster of a parlay that he had hit like 9 months previously or something and put it up in his like home with his wife and children and stuff. And that was like his claim to fame, was like the one parlay that he hit. He was riding that wave ever since. And I mean, I've seen stuff here and there. I'm sure you guys have too, like guys that were tracking his plays like down 200 units in the last month or something, if you played all of his plays. And it's just incredible the way that these guys, like the mental gymnastics and the advertising tactics that they use to like keep people signing up, because I do have to say, the amount of money that somebody like him makes selling picks is astronomical, and like sometimes makes you scratch your head like, why don't I do this? And then you remember that you have a soul, and then you just keep grinding.
We had the exact same conversation last week about that. Like, why would we not become pick sellers? I do love the term watered down, which is what I use for the rundown. This is technically not watering it down. This is actually less egregious. Watering it down would be like, well, if you played this without Nico Collins, like maybe you only wanted to play 4, you would have won the bet. Like literally just changing up the bet that was given out. That's far more egregious to me than saying you could have played them all individually. But Knish is right. Obviously, nobody's fucking playing these individually. You asked who wants my 121 TD parlay. That's what people were interacting for in the comments that I saw. Not, all right, I'll play them all individually. Obviously,
my favorite is when someone gives like a home run list or like a touchdown score list of 20, and then they say they 4 hit and they said, who parlayed these 4? Look how good.
If you did parlay them, you would have won this. And they were like, whoa, why didn't I think of that? Oh my God, I just have to choose the right 4 players from this huge list. Yeah. Just you got to look out for these classic examples. And if anybody is interested in buying picks, you got to be aware of things like this. You got to look for people doing it the right way. Let's go to our last full-scale topic in just a second here, because on this channel, we're bringing back Wednesday content, and we're bringing back Q&As. We've seen a lot of Q&As in this channel featuring people like Joey Knish. Those episodes have gone over very well, but we're going to be going back to some Q&As. Rob Rob Pizzola, CEO of the Hammer, and Kirk Evans, seasoned basketball bettor, are going to be doing one of these. So if you have any questions for anybody that you want answered, you can respond to the comments down below. You can email us at circlesoff@thehammer.bet or post it in our Circles Off Q&A channel in Discord, discord.gg/hammer, which is also linked in the description. And while you're down there, guys, please make sure you do smash that like button, subscribe, or we just hit 20,000 subs. We're now on the road to 25K, 30K, and beyond. You get content, like I said, on those Wednesdays, and circle back Monday and Friday. Last full-scale topic. I moved it out of the chopping block because I really wanted to talk about it. We have redacted gambler reporting on the latest from Steve Fezzik. Now, we were live on the Forward Progress channel, which is the Hammer's NFL content division. We were live for a watch-along when we found out about what was going on here. So, essentially, Steve Fezzik, pick seller, says, gave out to his subscribers Dolphins first quarter money line, and then realized after he gave it out that he actually wanted to bet the other side, which was the Jets first quarter spread at plus half a point, calling it a middle, which is not actually a middle because one side is a money line, one side is a spread. Rob, who had fun with it on the show, and then the next day said, had a wild dream. Some tout sent out Miami first quarter, realized they made the mistake, then sent out the Jets plus half, which, by the way, was minus 150 when he bet it, to try and middle it. And this was also after the game had already kicked off. Woke up thinking that that was an insane dream. Nobody would do that in real life. And then there was actually some pushback from some of Fezzik's community, I guess we'll call it, people that are buying Fezzik's picks. There was some pushback, as reported by Adrian Badgerowski, and Fezzik's reply was reportedly, go buy someone else, and saying that 2008 Fezzik would crush this type of tout. This is what we have in 2025, where he says we fire on value. And then to add on to all of that, Fezzik, who's down like 80 units on MLB, it was like at least 70, I think it was, post a photo of himself at Peter Luger's. It says, living the dream, showing off his expensive dinner at a fancy restaurant. EP Sports 22 says, down a bazillion units, bankrupting clients, but flexing the subs money at Peter Luger's. Absolutely zero shame. This is just like, I think this is the furthest Fezzik has ever been from reality, Knish. What do you think?
If it makes anybody feeling better, if you're a Fezzik pregame sub, I guarantee he didn't pay a cent for that dinner because he's a Caesars 7-star rewards member, and part of the package is you get free dinner comps at their every periodically. So don't be fooled thinking that cheap fuck went to Peter Luger's and paid full price so he could have a shrimp cocktail. I get that this is the guy who's mad that the Starbucks prices went above the $10 comp, so he had to pay, $1.25 for his cold brew or something like that. He's not going to Peter Luger's and putting that on the tab. So don't worry. I guarantee that was comped by Caesars.
Storm, what do you think on this one?
There's only one Peter Luger's, first of all, and that's the Williamsburg, the OG. The rest of them don't compare, so I just want to put that out there. The other thing is, when you say, he's so far detached from reality with the role that he's on the past couple of weeks, I wouldn't put it past him to be self-aware enough to be doing this stuff to troll all of us, right? This whole audience. I think that he relishes being on these shows, having people talk about him every single week. And I think it's rage bait at this point. And I think he's really good at it. Because I think, like earlier we were choosing the topics, and I think Chris and I passed on this, and we said I don't think it's a bad topic. It's just like we talk about Fezzik all the time, right? And then the other side of the coin was yeah, but everybody loves talking about it, right? It's good content. It drives good engagement. And I think he knows that, right? I think he's self-aware of it, and I think he just relishes in having his name brought up every single week. He's definitely taking advantage of the clout that he gets from making all these horrible tweets and doing things like betting both sides of the first quarter.
But also, as much as you could say any press is good press, the press the clout he gets from this show is extremely negative, and we're referencing specifically people who are buying his package who are upset with the state of it right now. Would this not be a negative for Fez?
But the problem is, who's the target audience? Circle. I hope that the average circles off and circle back is just a little sharper than most, and they're probably not going to be signing up for Fezzik. But the problem is, what happens is you have the more casual people. They say to their other casual friends, "Listen to this Fezzik episode." Then they hear the name Fezzik. Then they look up who's Fezzik. Then maybe they buy their package. They think, "Oh, it's a good," and that's all that happens. Like, I can totally see situations like that happening, and that's kind of why I said no to this, and I didn't want to give him any more clout, because we do it every time, and I kind of agree. At this point, he's either so delusional that it's like insane, but I actually agree with Storm at this point. I think he's self-aware, and he's doing it. He's farming it. He's making money off of this, and I don't want to help him.
Well, no, I think this Peter Luger's tweet is an example of that, where this is just rage bait. I'll concede to that.
No. Knish is right. He just loves getting the free comps so much. he can't hold back the excitement that he got this for free. It's too good.
But what I was going to say is, on the middle, quote unquote middle, on the Monday Night Football game, that's just embarrassing. That's just completely embarrassing. Like, it just, you made a bad pick. Just live with it. Why chase a minus EV bet with another minus EV bet? Like, what good is that going to do? I guess the point Rob made was, because he's down so many units, he's just trying to escape it as much as possible. But extremely horrific and embarrassing look for that service, in my opinion. We'll go to the chopping block now. 3 things featuring on the chopping block, stuff that didn't require full-scale segments, but we wanted to discuss nonetheless. The first one comes from Computer Cowboy, who says, in popular opinion, based on reading tweets about last night's game, this in reference to the Cowboys-Packers game, which ended in a tie, not only are ties fine, but for the sake of the players, there shouldn't even be overtime in regular season. End of regulation equals tied. Storm, would you support this for the NFL?
No, of course not. If you look at like group chats or Twitter or any other social media, when these games go to overtime, you will never see more people talking about a football game than these overtime games. It's exhilarating. I like the new rule changes where, both teams have a chance of getting the ball. I think it makes it better. For live betting, it's certainly a great opportunity. That I won't get too much into why, but there's a lot of mispricing going on in overtime. So it's just a weird tweet to me in general from a guy whose account is about tweeting about football. Why would you want less football in general? I don't understand that.
What about you, Knish?
I mean, I hate the tie in general. Like, even with I agree. I don't want the regular. I don't want the end of the game to be a tie. I don't want the overtime to end in a tie. It's stupid. And it's like a weird, the way the NFL does records, a tie almost like effectively is a loss too in a number of ways. And also in the contest, I know some people that had, the Packers and
that was not me.
You know what? That was the week before, wasn't it? You took the Packers. I honestly, I had one queued up, and then now it's remembering me that, like, wait, no, that was the week before. So
Jeff Benson.
I'm not gonna lie, that ran through my head. I was like, didn't Flup have the Packers? Like, didn't he tweet out his Grandissimo? Can I dunk on him for this?
No, I lost the Grandissimo. I have still one left, which is on Rams tonight. Hopefully that we come through there. But I have always been a pro football fan over college football. I still like college football. It's probably one of my second or third favorite sports to watch. But their overtime is so much better than NFL. And honestly, I don't mind, like, if NFL wants to keep it like this. But maybe we get the alternate 2-point conversions to see who actually wins the game. Just super high variance. Like, that's how the game is. That would be sick. That'd be great to watch. They can keep this regular 10 minutes if they want. But I think the start of the 25 is a great rule in college football. They should bring that back. Ending in tie is dumb. And that way Jeff Benson can't call it in and rig it in so people get more eliminated on Survivor.
And also it says, for the players' sake, there shouldn't even be overtime. Players absolutely hate ties. Every player who talks about it hates when they tie. So naturally they want to avoid that. So I think currently the overtime ruling has improved in the NFL, but perhaps can still be improved. But no, I disagree completely with that one. The next one comes from Legion Hoops, reports a lot on the NBA. Says, just when you thought you couldn't get more degenerate, Amazon will allow NBA fans to connect their FanDuel account and display live bets, place bets on screen during NBA action. An interesting one for sure. Knish, what do you think about this?
I mean, you know what? We're already so deep in the waters now in this country. Go for it. I don't care. If Isaac was here, he'd give us some 8-minute rant about responsible gaming. I don't know. I don't want to do that. That's not good for us. I don't give a shit anymore. Put it on you know what? I want to mail order a kiosk so it can be right in my living room and I can just buy whatever I want right there. I don't have to do it on the TV. A kiosk for every home. Like whatever that thing was at Franklin Roosevelt, I don't know, a microwave or whatever it was. A kiosk for every home. Just drop it at the door. Have Amazon. I want to be able to Amazon a kiosk to my house to be able to bet. So go for it.
Okay, I think something that people are missing here is if I have a big bet on a game or a sweat on a game, I have to turn it, and I'm live betting, and I want to sweat the game. I have to turn off my app because the odds update.
Yes.
So if I'm watching, can you imagine if I'm watching an NFL game that's like fourth down to convert to claim, I can't watch it because if the odds get turned off, I know they bricked the conversion or whatnot. I want to watch it in person. So how are they going to fix that problem? As a true degenerate who sweats his games all the time, that would bother me and annoy me to no end. I'm with Joey at this point. Fuck the regular. Who gives a shit? It's ridiculous at this point.
I'm going to go full conspiracy theorist and say I don't really know who would go through the trouble of integrating their FanDuel with their Amazon for the purpose of doing this. So
people will do it. People will do it.
I'm going to say that this is a psyop for people that sign up for this and display their bet slips on their TV to automatically have their information forwarded to problem gambling councils.
So this will work in the same way, like someone in a Twitch stream, for example, they're happy when their name gets shouted out by the person running the stream. I think this will work in the same way. Well, you'll just be excited. Whoa, that's my bet on the screen. It'll be a great place to see just the most square bets because anybody who knows anything does not want their fucking bets broadcasted to the public to see what they're betting on. So, interesting one. For the watching experience of the NBA, I don't like this. But from a sportsbook perspective, I can see why this is an interesting idea to bring up for the upcoming season.
Yeah, in general, it makes the watching experience horrible. I love seeing all the comments every year when we get a new football season of people complaining about the score bugs and how they just continuously start taking up more space on the screen every single year. And it just makes watching horrible. So the more shit you're going to throw up on the screen is not good.
Absolutely. Last thing we have for today comes from Cairo, CYRO, Sandbox CYRO says, bet online balance 5,600, FanDuel 4,800, DraftKings 7,600, checking 8,724. Wife says, let's go on vacation. Me, can't, we're broke. Few understand. Flup, are you in this same category?
This is Flup's Kalshi, except with a lot more zeros. Where he's in some shoebox apartment in New York when he could be living in the Hampton because he's got.
Hold on. I can confirm because when Flup and I first became friendly with each other, he was like, "Storm, what can I do in Manhattan to take my wife out for something?" And so it was like I recommended him a really great Thai massage place, but it was funny because it's like, what can I do in New York versus can I take her on a vacation? So this literally is Flup.
That's why I let off with him. Do you resonate with this, Flup?
It's also pretty funny because other day I just deposited a bunch into Kalshi. And my wife texted me, she's like, "Did we get hacked? What happened to our checking?" That was hysterical because I had a lot because I had a couple of things. I had a lot of positions out. I needed to bet more, and but I thought this was a great tweet in all seriousness because I'm so sick of these finance bros that are just all this money in investments or all this money in the 401k. It's just so ridiculous and it puts me on tilt. So just to see someone push back on that, I love that.
It's just really fun. I mean, I resonate with this in a way where I'll be watching a game I bet on at a bar and I'll be sweating over paying like $2 extra for a dipping sauce on the side. Like, do I really want to spend $2? Meanwhile, I have like 1,000 X stat on the game on the screen. It's just interesting perspectives. What do you think, Knish?
No, I mean, listen, I think I'm with you here in terms of that, and I'm with, there's some point. Thankfully, I'm not married, so I don't have to. Nobody's looking at my account balances in any of the thing there, so I can just load up Kalshi to the gills. But yeah, I also great tweet because there was it all originated from that one guy who was like, oh, I got 10 million in my 401k and $6 in my checking account. So great spin off on this tweet.
You finish off, Storm.
Yeah, I think it's also like a play on the ones that have been around forever that it's like bills, my monthly bills, 2,000 for rent, 1,000 for food, 500 for restaurants, 200,000 in gambling losses. How can I afford living? And I think this is another good play on it. It's one of those things where people who gamble just instantly get it. It just hits right at home.
Sorry, to add one more thing from my perspective. I am not married, but I am getting married hopefully soon. And the reason that is just financially.
Oh my God, another vacation?
This is a long. This is a while from now. This is earliest next summer, if not summer of 2027. Don't worry, not more time.
Hopefully, we've got a new producer by then, because otherwise we're going to be like, oh well, yeah, Jacob's getting married. We'll see him in 18 months. He's touring across Africa right now on his honeymoon.
To continue the point, anyways, for the wedding fund, my soon-to-be wife talked about taking money out of betting accounts to do it, and I had to say I don't think we can do that. We're gonna have to find another way to get the money in for the wedding. So yes, I resonate with this one very much, which is why I did put it up last on the list. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into the show today. If you did enjoy, remember to hit that like button. Also, make sure you're subscribed to Circles Off. We have Circle Back Monday, live at 1 p.m. Fridays, this show, pre-recorded 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And we have some bonus content coming at you every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Stuff like Q&As, which you can ask those questions by going to the Discord, by going to the comments, by going to the email, which I had on screen previously. Thanks again for watching. Thank you to our sponsors, Kalshi. We'll see you again next time, everybody.